Hey, good morning and happy Thursday. Yay! I know you're like, who is this? It's Crystal Moyer, your new six anchor and insider guide. I'm filling in for Bridgett today. She's feeling a little under the weather. But that's okay. I've got you covered with your weather and traffic. We're going to check in with Candace in a moment and Trooper Steve. We're also going to be talking about an arrest in a really bad Leesburg murder that happened not too long ago. And the guy was on a run for several weeks. He's finally been caught by police and he'll be facing charges. Also, a big day tonight, the presidential debate. And this one is really unique. We're going to be talking with Mark Lehman about the difference that this one makes, and it's actually the earliest in American history that we've had a presidential debate. So we're going to touch on that as well. It is National HIV Testing Day, so we do have a doctor to talk a little bit about that, what you need to know, how you can encourage your friends and family to get tested, and also a really unique passport program, Brevard County Public Schools partnering with local museums to kind of give those kids stamps on their passports without leaving the country. I'll touch on that as well during this show. So welcome to Breakfast with Bridgett. It is Thursday, June 27th, 2024. Let's get to it, starting with our weather with meteorologist Candace Campos and another wet day.
But not as wet day as as the past couple of days, because we are going to continue to see those rain chances stay normal for this time
Okay.
of the year, but rather than like a 60 to 70% today, we're going like more like 40, 50.
Okay. Well, it's
So
summer, you know,
yeah, now don't get me
typical.
wrong, we're going to see some rain. It's just not going to be those booming thunderstorms that we get that start up late in the afternoon and then linger until sundown.
Mm-hmm.
Won't be that big of a setup today, but we got a lot of things to talk about, including the feels like temperatures. They are back in the triple digits, and we
Ooh.
also have the tropics. You know, we're talking about two different areas and some Saharan dust that we're going to be keeping our eyes closed on, really, with one of the tropical waves out
Mm-hmm.
in the Atlantic. So let's get to it, Crystal. Let's break it down for you. What everyone needs to know on the way out the door today. Our heat indices are going to be back into the triple digits between 102 to 108 for several hours today, even though our actual air temperature is still going to be in those mid to low 90s. So our daytime temperatures are running near average, actually. It's the feels like temperatures that are really going to make it feel very uncomfortable. Then we have those sea breeze storms that will still produce some spotty downpours, but not as widespread as earlier this week. And again, like I said before, we're watching two waves and some Saharan dust. And and a partridge in a pear tree, looking here at the radar, that's what it sounded like to me. Looking here at the radar, we've been tracking some of those lone showers pushing in off the Gulf Coast, all ahead of kind of that West Coast sea breeze that's kind of just waking up already this morning. And as it does so, it's bringing in some scattered showers, but you can see how quickly they're really starting to fall apart before they even cross over the county line there into Marion County. Now, clouds and rain forecast still showing that we could have the potential of those pop-up downpours here and there throughout the afternoon. And where we could potentially see our best shot for a sea breeze collision will be along our immediate coastline. The modeling hasn't really holding on to that, but if I have to lean more on the conservative side, I'll say that we will have some of those storms kind of get pinned up along our coastline today, where the rain for the past couple of days have been more like in and around the I-4 corridor and just to the west. And then as we head into your Friday, you can see that looks much more different, right? The chance for rain and that collision is expected a little further inland for your Friday. So you see the difference there, Crystal, between today
Mm-hmm.
and tomorrow. The rain chances, though, for today at about a 50%. Heat index still showing those triple digits back into the forecast between, again, 102 to 109. And you can see that trend of rain chances do go up after about the lunchtime hour or so. All right, let's talk about the tropics. We are almost wrapping up the first full month of the Atlantic hurricane season, and now we are watching two systems. Both of these tropical waves are impressive. We've got one that's very robust right now in the Caribbean. You can see a lot of thunderstorm activity, not organized, but certainly a lot of action, a lot of that cloud cover kind of billowing up, as we can see here from our satellite view. That's going to continue to make its way towards the Yucatan Peninsula into Central America over the next couple of days. Has still a low chance of developing. It has a lot of land to kind of navigate around and through, so we'll of course have to wait and see, but nothing very eye-popping with that. The one that is A little more of intriguing is that we're watching this tropical wave further out over the eastern Atlantic, a few hundred miles southwest of the Cabo Verde Islands. Now, this system, this tropical wave, is a little more robust, a little juicier. But what's interesting about this tropical wave is that it's very far out in the Atlantic. We don't really tend to see these storms rolling off the coast of Africa until almost late July, September kind of time,
Mm.
like August, September. That's when we really start to see more of those tropical waves. But this is certainly early in the season, but it also doesn't come as a surprise because we are looking at a abnormally active season because we do have just the conditions are just primed and ready and ripe for more of that development as our water temperatures have been feeling more like August ocean temperatures since about May. So there's no big surprise there. These both systems are official invest, meaning that the National Hurricane Center is now routinely putting them through their model runs, and so that's what we're getting right now. We have Invest 94, which is the one in the Caribbean, still expect to do more of an impact towards Central America. But of course, Invest 95 is the one we're going to be closely monitoring over the next couple of days. Models do show it potentially becoming our next depression or our next named storm by the weekend. If it does, our next name on the list is Beryl, and that would be what that secondary system could possibly be. In the meantime, now, no big tropical developments, long range models past those computer model timeframes, still not showing a big threat for us here in Central Florida. We, of course, will always be watching it because every model run is different, especially these early model runs. They're sometimes pretty hard to trust just because they're so fresh and the organization's really not there just yet. But again, we'll be keeping an eye on it. Locally here, rain chances do go back up to about 60% come Friday, and that's where we'll sit throughout the weekend. I did mention, though, we do have a little bit of that Saharan dust crystal. Although it's not really going to be squashing our rain chances or anything drastic like that, it will start. You'll start noticing our sunrise and sunsets are a little prettier and a little more vibrant as we
Okay.
head into early next week. And that's basically it. Saharan dust is very typical for this time of the year. It tends to kind of suppress a lot of our big time tropical development across the Atlantic. But that little wave out there in the Atlantic has been able to kind of like, find its little niche kind of in and around that dust. So it's been able to kind of hold on to the moisture it has. So, of course, that's the reason why we're watching that tropical wave a little closer
And I have a question
over the
about
next
that,
couple days.
Candace, because
Yeah.
once you have like a storm, a potential storm forming that far out in the Atlantic, and it has a lot of time before it gets anywhere close to land, does
hmm
that mean it has a greater potential of getting stronger, or does that not matter?
Well, I mean, it can go either way. So, Crystal, if you have a storm and all of a sudden it is a raging Category 5 hurricane out in the Atlantic, you can't. The systems can't keep that intensity the whole time. It kind of
Okay.
falls apart and
Right.
breaks up. It runs into different obstacles. So sometimes if it's just this impressive storm out in the Atlantic and then it falls apart and it really doesn't do much. Um, or you have a system that is just a slow, gradual developer, right? That is slowly
Mm-hmm.
gets there. Yeah, it does have a lot of time. It has a lot of open waters to develop into something more. So yes, we tend to get those big major hurricanes more in August and September because it has all that time to develop in the Atlantic. So it's much harder to get storms forming right off the coast of Florida and then
Right.
getting to that same, threshold of intensity. So it all depends on where it reaches its peak intensity. So
All right. Well, whatever
these just,
happens with that personality
interesting.
of 95, we're going to keep an eye on it.
Yeah, 95 would keep an eye on it. And hurricanes are they do have their own personalities, you know what I'm saying? So it's one of those things like you can't maybe you, Crystal, because you're a beast, but you can't keep that high intensity for weeks on end. So it's one of those things that you just have to kind of keep an eye on and no one tropical wave we just turn a blind eye to. We always have to kind of keep an eye on it because it's those sneaky ones too
Yeah.
that sometimes, pop up.
Y'all know I'm a Cat 5 every day, no matter the hour. Thank you so much,
I think I'm
Candace.
gonna put that as a little logo on your desk. Crystal Moyer, Cat
Cat
5,
5, starting at
all the
4
time.
a.m.
There you go.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Candace. Of course, we'll keep in
Bye.
touch with you. And don't forget to download that new Pinpoint Weather app. And Candace has all
hmm
of those articles that she'll be updating you on. So thank you. We'll see you later on.
Bye.
All right, now, and speaking of vibrant, earlier this morning, I'm going to bring in Trooper Steve because she was describing, what the potential Saharan dust could do to our sunsets and sunrises. She said Trooper Steve was vibrant, and I agree. You're very vibrant.
Oh, Mrs. Cat 5 over here. That is got to be the funniest thing I have ever heard. We're going to get a little name tag for your desk. Cat 5
Cat
Crystal.
5. Oh, you know when I'm coming, Steve's like,
It's like you guys watching
Sometimes.
and enjoying your breakfast. If you're enjoying your breakfast right now, watching us this morning, listen, if we do not respond to Crystal, good morning in the morning, she walks in. It's a routine. She walks in a few minutes before the start, after prepping, she says, "Good morning, guys." And if she's met with silence, she stops, she
Good. I
backs up a
said good
second,
morning.
and then she does it again. So Crystal is always with us.
I just think it's rude when you don't acknowledge people. It's like at least say something. Say something.
Right. I
But
could even moan, and that's better than just be like, "Meh." And she's
say,
like, "At
"Yup,
least you're here."
I'll take whatever." So I know we are dealing with a big traffic alert. We had Sky 6 out there earlier. So what's the update on that, Steve?
Right now, so this is going to be on Maitland Boulevard, and I love our desk because Lupe was giving us me some information, and I questioned it for a second, but she was 100% right. So although it's on Maitland Boulevard, Altamont Police Department is going to be working this crash. It is unfortunately just been upgraded to a fatal crash investigation, and they have indicated that the westbound lanes of Maitland Boulevard at Magnolia Homes will be shut down for at a minimum for the next 2 hours. Eastbound, you are heavily delayed and you are backed up well past Orange Blossom Trail. So this is not the place you want to be. I would give you an alternate, but the alternate is going to be extensively long. So at this point, please leave it some time. And of course, follow the detours that are in place. There was an earlier crash just south of there off of Hiawassee and Beggs. That has been cleared out. So we're making some progress this nasty crash off of Colonial, and it appears they've cleaned this up as well. So east and westbound State Road 50 right now up to speed. Maitland obviously seeing those problems. So we move on a little bit up to the Apopka area, 429 north and southbound through our traveling areas. Nice and clear. I'm not even picking up that southbound delay as you approach the Florida Turnpike this morning. Keep in mind, just because it's summertime doesn't mean our construction isn't happening. Wekiva, good morning to you. Wekiva Springs, Hunt Club, all our residential portions through there. If you're making your way towards I-4 this morning, things do look pretty good within that area. Maitland obviously is our focal point this morning. Westbound I-4 out in the Seminole County, seeing those delays, but they've started late this morning, Crystal, so we're looking pretty good out as you approach Lake Mary Boulevard and of course our attractions area. Seeing some minor issues east and westbound with a minor crash on International Drive, but our drive times where they should be. So if you're coming in from the attractions to downtown Orlando, 33 minutes from Champions Gate to 408. So Crystal, overall, not too bad. It allows me to not think too much about the traffic and think about my Trooper Steve on patrol today, because I will be making my way over to Orange County Animal Services. And it's a surprise today. So I don't know who, what I'm
Either
meeting
way,
today.
either
Either
way.
way, it's going to be amazing.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. So
And
very
that's going to be
important
at 10
here.
o'clock.
If you're looking to adopt, obviously make sure you're ready to adopt, but definitely go to these shelters because they get packed with dogs and they need loving homes, and they're just the most amazing animals. I can tell you, I rescued my 2 animals. So definitely try to do that. And we will stay tuned for Trooper Steve on patrol to see what kind of furry friend you have today.
Awesome. Thank you, Crystal, so much. I'll talk to you later.
Thanks, Steve. Be safe.
Bye.
All right, so moving on now to a really serious story here. Now, there was a murder out in Leesburg. A suspect was on the run for nearly a month, but he's finally been caught after he went into a convenience store and murdered the clerk there. That's what police are saying. So they announced the arrest of Alex Lopez last night. They say, he killed the clerk that was working inside and stole some money there. So News 6's Ezzy Castro was talking about this and has more from the police making the arrest.
Investigators arresting 25-year-old Alex Lopez, accused of shooting and killing a convenience store clerk in Leesburg. The crime was caught on surveillance video, which shows the suspect pointing a gun at Ray Shihade, who was behind the counter. It all happened late last month at the M&M Food Mart on Picciola Road. News 6's Laverne McGee spoke to the owner, who was friends with Shihade, and described him as a hardworking man.
A true husband, a good guy all over. He will take the shirt out of his back to give it to you. And they took him away essentially.
Lopez's arrest comes after Leesburg police issued a warrant for his arrest and a reward for information. He's now facing multiple charges, including premeditated murder and possession of a firearm by a convicted felon.
That was News 6's Ezzy Castro. Of course, we'll keep following up with this as that suspect faces a judge, and we will have updates on clickorlando.com. Now to results 2024, a big night tonight where in just hours we will see that showdown between President Biden and former President Trump as they have their first debate tonight on the CNN stage. It's the first time the two rivals will debate since October of 2020. And this debate is going to be a little bit different. There are some new rules to prevent those candidates from talking over each other. You know what happened in the 2020 debates, as their microphones are going to be muted when it's not their turn to speak. There won't be any audience members during the debate. So that's going to be interesting. The debate is tonight, and it's the earliest televised presidential debate in U.S. history. So this is going to be really interesting. The reason why it's the earliest debate is because both candidates ran away with their party's nominations early. So they were able to schedule this out. So we'll have that, of course. You could watch it here on News 6 when that debate happens tonight. And, of course, we will have updates later on News 6 at 11. So really interested to see what happens there during the election season. Now today is a day marking National HIV Testing Day, a very important topic here. This year's theme is Level Up Your Self-Love, Check Your Status. And with that being said, I want to bring in Dr. Daniela Teo, infectious disease specialist with Orlando Health. Thank you for joining us this morning, Dr. Teo.
Morning. Thank you for having me.
Of course. And, talking about HIV, it's a subject that some people really don't want to discuss, especially when it comes to checking your status. Tell me a little bit about, more than 1 million people have been diagnosed with HIV. Why do you think some people kind of stray away from getting tested, or we see so many people who don't know their status?
So HIV in general over time has had a stigma, unfortunately. We have been working very hard over time to beat that stigma and combat that by being very open in our office and, with HIV prevention and detection and treatment. So now, luckily, in honor of HIV Testing Day, I could talk about testing options to help with that stigma. So a lot of people don't want to come in to get tested because, one, they're afraid to get the diagnosis. Two, that stigma of being judged, not only if they test positive or just showing up and asking for a test. So we have a lot of options for testing. There's now at-home kits, mail-in kits. There's a website that they can go to. I think if you Google HIV testing, there's a lot of sites in Orlando that you can go to and get tested. But to beat that stigma, there is that option now that people can test themselves.
And Dr. Teo, a lot of people are probably wondering, when do I need to get tested, and what types of people? Like, what are some of the characteristics if you need to know, do I need to go get tested? Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so any time that you're unsure if you've been exposed, or it should be part of healthcare maintenance. Even during pregnancy, all pregnant women get screened. So I would recommend testing for everyone at least once in your life, just to be sure. If you have symptoms of HIV, so that would be like fevers, chills, lymph nodes, kind of like a mono-like illness. And you've obviously had sexual exposures, you should definitely go get tested. I think that's basically everybody should be tested at least once, and then they test pregnant women. And if you think that you've been exposed, it would be good to know.
Yeah. And is there a certain age that folks need to get tested, or a certain age where you're seeing that there is a higher number of positive cases?
So I've kind of seen everything. people think that because you're older, and you're not sexually active, you don't really think to get tested. But actually, like the mean time it takes for AIDS to develop is 8 years. So you could have had an exposure 8 to 10 years prior and you wouldn't know. So I would say all ages, as long as you've been sexually active, you have symptoms, it should be a part of healthcare maintenance. So that's what I would recommend. I wouldn't say a specific age. I think anybody who has sexual exposure, especially with the natural progression of the disease, should get tested.
And when it comes to treatment, I'm reading some data here that we got. Testing programs have been critical contributors to the 12% decrease in estimated HIV infections from 2018 to 2022. Now, when someone is testing positive for HIV, what are some of the treatment options, especially if it's caught early?
So I'm going to just emphasize the importance of testing, right? So even if you have a negative test and you want to protect yourself, so I'll touch on PrEP first. I don't know if you guys have heard of PrEP, but I'm going to talk about it. This is to prevent HIV. So that means if you get an HIV test and it's negative, you can start PrEP to decrease your chances of getting HIV. Then we talk about HIV treatment. We have a lot of options and it kind of varies, but there's some top options. Most of our options are one pill once a day. If patients are controlled over time, there are certain criteria for this, but we actually have the injection as well. So that's a good option for people who don't want to follow that one pill once a day regimen. They do need to be followed more closely, but it is an option. So we have a lot of treatment options for sure.
Mm-hmm. And, I just want to stress the importance of getting tested, Dr. Teo, because like you said, if you just Google HIV testing, especially here in Central Florida, in Orlando, there are so many opportunities for free testing. If you have insurance, if you don't have insurance, all across the area. And a lot of times it's not even in a hospital. So you could get it in a more comfortable place. Like you said, you could take some tests at home.
At home. Yeah, self-testing. It's an option now. It's a great option, especially if that stigma that you talked about, oh, I don't want to be seen, or, I don't know how I'm going to deal with this. The home self-test is a very good option. You get results very quickly. And if you have a positive result, you can go and seek treatment. That's the most important thing, because once you're undetectable, you're untransmissible. And that will lower the risk of continuing to spread HIV and fighting this epidemic.
All right. Thank you so much for your time, Dr. Daniela Teo with Orlando Health on this National HIV Testing Day. Really important to know your status. So encourage your friends, your family. And of course, we'll post this interview on clickorlando.com so you can review it. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having me.
All right, so moving on now to a story for those students. If you're wondering, what am I going to do this summer? I'm tired of being stuck in the house, sitting there on my phone, playing games or on social media. Parents, you need to listen up because there is a new special program, Brevard Public Schools partnering with local museums to get them some stamps on their passport, but they don't have to leave the country. Take a look.
Well, we're certainly glad to have you today at the Veterans Memorial Center Military Museum. Mm-hmm. We have 6,000 square feet of museum space on 3 floors. We have every period of American conflict history, including the Cold War.
Former Army Captain Don Weaver is the vice president of the Brevard Veterans Memorial Center and Museum in Merritt Island. He's giving Satellite High School senior Gabriela Rivas and I a tour of the thousands of wartime artifacts they have here.
All these weapons and everything, it's all very tactical, and the letters give the soldiers more humanity.
The wartime letters were given by families, and we've displayed as many as we could to remind, before the internet, how important letters were to our soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marine serving overseas, and in some cases risking their lives and depending on those letters to bolster their morale.
For 6-year-old Nolan Wynn, this visit with his mom is more personal because of what his dad does.
He works for the United States Air Force, and he is deployed in Guam right now. He's very important to our country.
That's right. Nolan's getting up close to authentic military artifacts like this World War II Jeep built in the 1940s.
You want to try to put that on? Okay. Look next to the machine gun.
Is this a replica or is this an
This is
original?
an actual Jeep used in the war.
No, it's an original.
All the things in it are part of World War II equipment as well.
For the first time, the museums of Brevard, representing dozens of museums, wildlife conservation areas, and historic landmarks, is partnering with the Brevard Public Schools to offer a passport program, encouraging students and their families to explore educational attractions and collect stamps.
The ultimate goal is get out of your house, get out from behind that screen, whatever it is, right, and go and experience something that's real, that's here in our county.
I think most of our students will get excited once they go to the first or second museum. They'll say, wait a minute, I want to do them all. I want to fill out this sheet. I want to get any reward I can.
Many museums, like the Veterans Memorial Museum, are free or offer student discounts. Nolan is receiving the first stamp on his Museums of Brevard passport.
I think it's great. It's a lot of history here, and our country itself has a lot of history, and I think it's important for our kids to learn about that.
All of these places educational, and if the student gets all of the stamps on their passport through the end of the next school year, they get special recognition and a certificate at the school board meeting. So really cool. Parents, any of those museums on that list will have that passport. I have the full list on clickorlando.com/insider. We are just days away from the 4th of July, USA Independence, and we have a contest for you insiders. If you are really interested in those fireworks, we're talking about fireworks at the fountain. Happens every year over downtown Orlando at Lake Eola. We've got some VIP passes for you. We are giving away 5 VIP passes, including 4 tickets to the fireworks display. We're going to feed you. We got food. We have drinks. And you know what's really important here? You have access to the Lake Eola house, and it could get hot out there. It sprinkled last year, and you'll get to sit in the AC and hang out with our new 6 staff and talent as you await this amazing fireworks show. You'll get special front row seats to that fireworks show as well. So just head to clickorlando.com. You can fill out that form. You can enter every day for more chances to win. That contest will run through June 30th. We'll be picking our winner on July 1st. So make sure you head there and enter. We just have a blast with our insiders. Thank you so much for joining us today for Breakfast with Bridgett. I'm Crystal Moyer filling in while Bridget's feeling under the weather. I got you covered, and coming up at 8, we'll have Weather-Wise with Jonathan Kagas. Have a good one.